episode. Good evening. Welcome to a week one recap from the Fantasy Holics. It's blood, sweat, and tears. As always, wide receiver one room, Zach Rom, Castle Black, Brian Brunner, Mr. Vito here. Man, is there any better theater than the NFL? What an unbelievable week one from Thursday at 8 o'clock till late last night. Leagues were weekly matchups won and lost. Man, like, would the NFL have had it any other way? It was just the best. It was so great, and it was too great. I mean, that Bills Ravens game felt like it should have been the AFC Championship game. I felt anything else is almost a letdown.
Incredible. I saw someone say cancel the regular season, just do a best of 17 Ravens-Bills each week, and just whoever wins it gets it. Like, that was just so amazing. Like, just have that. Like, anything else, just get rid of it. Just do that. And that game was amazing.
What made the Bills-Ravens even that much better for me is I not only had to work open to close at my shop that day, so missed all of the football. I had a 2-hour meeting before work, so I got to literally work like an 11-hour day, so I didn't even get to do much in the pregame department. So when I finally got home after that long-ass day and sat down with a cold beer and got to watch that game, it just made it that much more amazing. I mean, holy shit. Derrick Henry looking like he shot out of a cannon. I mean, how many people went into that night game against Allen, Lamar, Henry, Zay Flowers, these guys. James Cook even had a monster game, and just had their. You could have been up by like 50 or 60 even, depending on who your opponent had, and then you lost after that monumental shootout. Man, that was as fun as watching football gets. Man, unreal.
I have a league where a guy has Allen, Lamar, and Henry on his team, and that crushed his opponent. Just those three outscored his entire opponent pretty much. It's amazing how much they did.
Yeah, man, the OG Fantasy Holics League, our original Dynasty League, is super flex, and I'm lucky enough to have Allen and Lamar, and I also have James Cook on that team, and I didn't necessarily need that many points to win, but safe to say I scored the most points week one, man. That was fucking ridiculous.
It just felt like it was 40-25 in the fourth, and it just felt like something was looming, that there was just something coming. Josh Allen wasn't having a great game. I had, like, stupid me, thought that Bills Ravens was the Thursday game for a while, so I had a Thursday night preview for the wrong game for a week or two, and Josh Allen hadn't really done well versus the Ravens historically, and I'm like, here we go. Here's another not so great game from Josh Allen. And then the fourth quarter happened, and just all the
22 points.
Wrestling themes came to mind. The first thing that came to mind was, by God, that's Josh Allen's music. And I'm like, oh my God, Josh Allen threw for seemingly 300 yards in the fourth quarter. I'm like, okay. It was
a stat about that. Josh Allen was the first quarterback in NFL history with 250 passing yards and 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter of a game that actually won the game. Because I guess that's probably happened a few times in garbage time, but it's never actually gotten him the win. But that was incredible. And it was the fucking Derrick Henry fumble that really swung the game.
That's it.
It was like you could see it happen. Like, until that fumble, it was like, all right, this is cool. This is great for fantasy, all these garbage points. And Allen's really padding these stats and all that. But Keon Coleman padding stats, but once that fumble happened, I was like, holy shit, I think this is really going to happen.
Yeah, I went to sleep. End of the start of the fourth quarter, I went to sleep. I'm like, this game's over. I'm not doing anything. I woke up and saw the Bills win. I'm like, what did I miss?
Typo.
Like,
unbelievable.
It's like neither team played bad, and it was just two battleships firing every cannonball they had. Like the Lamar Jackson run where he ran 20 yards backwards and 50 yards forwards, and then Derrick Henry has this like monstrous runs, and then for the first time I could ever remember, Derrick Henry got blown up twice. Like Ed Oliver just plowed through him. I'm like, I've never seen Derrick Henry lose yards. And then it was just such a roller coaster of emotions. Thank God neither of them are my favorite team, or it would have been, I wouldn't have been able to watch.
Yeah. I've been seeing people say Derrick Henry had, 169 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and he's the reason the Ravens lost. No. He's the reasons the Ravens had such a lead. Like, his fumble was not why they lost. He's the reason they had that lead going into it. Like, there's so many other small things that could have done. And like, don't say that stat line. Henry's fumble was it? No. It was a monumentous effort. It reminded me of the Chiefs-Bills, what was it, AFC Championship game of I think it was a championship game. It must have been 5-6 years ago at this point, where they scored like 21 points in the last minute and a half of the fourth quarter. Like, Chiefs had what like 20 seconds left and got a touchdown through Tyreek Hill. Like, it reminded me of that game. It was just so much happening at once in the fourth quarter. Like, you couldn't take your eyes off of it.
Yeah, the Ravens tend to just lose these close big games left and right. A lot of chokage for the Ravens. It seems like, man, it stinks. They deserve the win. I mean, they look so fucking good. And I guess we could probably talk about this game for an hour and a half. But last thing I want to say is, do you guys remember when it was like a running joke that Lamar just couldn't pass? That he was just a running back playing quarter. He just throws ropes out there, man. What do you have last year? 40-something passing touchdowns and single-digit interceptions. Crazy good, accuracy, passing completion percentage, man. It's wild. And the fact that he can just take off and run and will still get you 800, 900, 1,000 yards rushing, man. He is a fucking cheat code for fantasy.
And that's the interesting thing. He can throw darts. He didn't have 20 passing attempts that game.
No.
14 of 19 for 200 yards. Like, because of his legs, because of Henry, like, they got that play action, they got that deep ball. He doesn't need to throw it that often. And that's where I think many people say he's not a great passer. He can get you 14 completions for 200 yards just fine, but then a couple rushing touchdowns. Like, for fantasy purposes, he is amazing.
Just wild. He more or less single-handedly brought me to a week 1 dub in my my main league of record. I was left for dead, man. I started Eckler and RJ Harvey. I started Nico Collins. It was just SOL, and he got me, I think, in 4-point passing touchdowns. He had like 29.9 points or something like that.
Yeah, amazing. So, week to week during the season, we got a couple of things we're going to bring to you each week. We're going to bring a breaking news segment, talk about the relevant news that has happened over the last week. We each are probably going to bring 1 or 2 spotlight players that either have done really good or really bad, that we're just going to put the spotlight right on them and talk about them, discuss them, give them some thoughts a little deeper before we're going to bring up the entire scoreboard of the week and just kind of see what happens, talk through it, see if there's any comments that people have, want to talk to us live, go for it. We might, here or there do a little breakdown of either rookies or, a mid-season update of here's where you're looking or what you should be doing with your fantasy team. And we'll all be kind of bouncing back and forth there. So to start off, we have some breaking stories tonight. I'm so sorry. I clicked the wrong button. Some breaking stories. We have 4 kind of big pieces of news. First, it seems this is a common thing that's happening year to year with the lack of players playing in the preseason. it almost seems a laundry list of injuries that happens and comes about during or after week 1. Players that are questionable on sleeper that I didn't even include would be Puka Nacua is still listed as questionable. Eckler. There's so many others, but we have a list of injuries that are more relevant coming from this past week here.
Well, the Kittle one's the headliner because they already put him on IR.
And it was quick.
You knew it was serious because, again, I was stuck at work all day, but when you saw the highlights and everything, right after he went out, he was just standing on the sideline with a hat on and with no shot at coming back in. So, I mean, stinks. You spent probably a 3rd-round pick on him. You spent up to have that, super huge advantage at tight end every week, and now he's done for at least 4. I've already heard that it's probably more like 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Which is just a damn shame. I mean, at least he got you the touchdown, and I guess, glass half full. They put him right on IR, so you could, slide him to IR, get the free roster spot to pick somebody up. There's some good tight ends. A lot of tight ends really are kind of the stars of the waiver wire for week 1. So I mean, you've got some dudes you can pick up, but just a damn shame of the guys that are already listed out. He's the headliner there.
Yeah, it usually takes a couple days for teams to put someone on IR just to make sure. Right on IR right away with a hamstring injury that's even 5-6 weeks, that's going to linger past that, as hamstrings do. It's going to be tough to really play him in the first until probably week 9 or 10 even, based upon the injury, which is, yeah, when you're paying up for a tight end position, this is devastating.
And the 49ers, their bye is week 14. So you're missing Kittle for 4 weeks minimum. Week 14, like, if Kittle comes back and has a good game, like, that's an immediate trade because, hammy can flare up again anytime. You don't want to be without Kittle in the fantasy playoffs when you could have gotten something for him.
Yeah.
Between weeks, say 6 and 10.
And the injuries continue to plague the 49ers. Juwan Jennings has a shoulder problem. Purdy has a shoulder and a toe problem. A shoulder problem seems to be quite relevant. London is dealing with a shoulder issue, shoulder sprain. Mooney has a shoulder issue. Worthy has his dislocated shoulder. For some reason, that's the main injury spot here. We have Shipley. I'd expect Shipley to go on IR soon too. It said he was out 4 to 6 weeks with a fractured rib. I'd expect him to go on IR, which makes the next point of news of a Tank Bigsby trade that make that much more sense with him being out, having that backup. But any other injuries outside of Kittle that you're really keeping an eye on? Bowers has a knee injury. That's never a good thing either.
Bowers came out right off the bat and said he would have gone back in, but they didn't need him. So seems like Bowers is going to be okay. I'd be kind of surprised if he's out because we haven't heard anything really since. Worthy seems very gray area. I think the one sleeper blurb said he's going to try and see how he feels with a brace on. And then I think the CBS guys, yesterday or today on their pod, we're talking about, we're expecting him to be out for, probably a few games, maybe 5-6 like Kittle. Obviously, they didn't put him on IR yet. We don't really know anything. It seems very hard to read with Worthy, but I think they would probably lean towards sitting him if need be. So I'm kind of going into at least week 2 expecting not to see Worthy. Purdy apparently is fairly hurt. It's a shoulder and a toe. I guess he's got multiple injuries. So, I mean, Purdy could legit sit. I had a guy in a dynasty in a Superflex league earlier today. I woke up to the trade in my inbox. The Purdy owner asked for my Mac Jones, and he sent me Shadur Sanders because I have Joe Flacco in that league. So I was like, fuck it, let's do it. Handcuff quarterback. I think there's a realistic chance that Purdy's out too. And Mooney, I guess, I think he's probably the most likely to play. Him and Bowers are probably the most likely to play out of these guys, it seems like.
Yeah. With with the 49ers having all these injuries, we have Ricky Pearsall, but Purdy's potentially injured and not going to play. Are you starting Pearsall this next week? Like, I'm for sure having him in my flex because of all these injuries, or because Purdy might be out? Is he going to be a little too risky to start? What are you dealing with? What are you thinking with all these injuries with the 49ers?
I'm confident.
We have a quick comment mentioning you were talking about the Worthy, that dislocations for shoulder tend to end in surgery from some research from Jay commenting here. So that's not a good sign for the Chiefs if that ends up being the case. You never want to hear Worthy, who's probably your star wide receiver right now. He's out. Rice is suspended still. I mean, Hollywood Brown, had 16 targets. He did some great stuff, but Mahomes is slowly running out of options.
Yeah, it's not great, Bob. I got to believe they lean on the cautious side with Worthy. I mean, they'd be crazy not to. He's their first round draft capital rookie. He's shined as soon as they started giving him opportunities. They're gonna give him the time he needs. So I'd be pretty shocked to see him this week. I think that'd be kind of crazy on their part to roll him out there with some kind of brace on. I mean, they can, they've got Hollywood, they've got Kelsey there, they've got, I don't know if Royals will be ready to play, but they have Royals. They make it work. They'll involve the running backs more. They'll two tight end with Gray and Kelsey. That offense will be, okay. They're not going to. I mean, I'd just be shocked if I see Worthy in the lineup this week.
But resurrecting from the Patriots graveyard, man, Tyquan Thornton looked like he belonged. He did not look like a guy that should have been given up on. And if he played like he did on Thursday night, he probably wouldn't have been let go. He looked perfectly fine. And I've got a few waiver bids on him because there's so many question marks on that. Like Hollywood Brown, he's not good. I was a believer for a long time. I don't know. He's like Kansas City's Quentin Johnson that we'll get to later. Juju's done. There's just so many question marks, and I'd rather not. But Tyquan looked perfectly fine, which was very surprising.
He missed a couple balls too, so he could have had a much better stat line. And I also wonder, for the sake of bringing Worthy back, the Chiefs have a really hard first 6 games. They could start 2-4. They got Philly. They got a kind of an easy week 3 with the Giants. Then they're at Baltimore. At Jacksonville, it's a little 50-50. But then Detroit week 6. Sure, those are home games. But if the Chiefs can't get their offense going, they could start 1-4, 2-6 in this division. That's tough. That might be why they're really waiting on Worthy. Or maybe seeing him saying day to day, because if you can get him back in, he can be electric, and they might need that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think the Chiefs will figure it out. They just always do. They'll
Always do.
move bodies in there. Juju's been there. He knows the system. I mean, it's not too far removed from him having like a 5-week run where Juju was like a top 10 receiver every week. So they'll figure it out, and they'll get Worthy right. But next little bullet point, the Tank Bigsby trade to my Philadelphia Eagles. Pretty big deal. It coincides with the Will Shipley injury news. They apparently were looking at this trade prior to the Shipley news. They wanted to bring Tank in back when the Jaguars were saying they wanted to trade one of these guys. So I think it's a pretty solid move. They gave up a 5 and a 6. In today's day and age, that might be a little bit pricey. I feel like there's like bigger stars than Bigsby moved for less, but that's not anything earth shattering. And I think he becomes the immediate locked up cuff for Saquon. He'll probably have some bit of a role. I mean, Shipley had some touches in week 1, so I mean, Bigsby will probably be on the field. And I think probably the biggest tidbit from this is Bishal Tootin to stock way up. He's going to have a role. He did next to nothing week 1, but Tank I think had about 32% of the snaps with the Jags. I think that role immediately goes to Tootin. ETN did look great, kind of reminded everybody that, he was an elite fantasy back just 2 years ago. But Tootin, right into that handcuff role and right into a secondary role as the change of pace back there. So I think that's the Tootin stock bump is the biggest news of that whole move there.
Yeah. For Bigsby, what are you sending for him in dynasty leagues to get him as a handcuff for Barkley? Are you sending a late second? Is it a third? Are you even trying to get Bigsby? What as a Phillies fan, what are you doing here?
I mean, I would, on the teams that I have Saquon, I would not mind getting Bigsby to secure that handcuff, especially given the workload year that Saquon's coming off of. I think that with that offensive line, I think the Eagles' offensive line is similar to the Vikings system. Man, just put somebody in there with legs, and they're probably gonna be pretty good for fantasy. So, I mean, I'd have no problem sending a third. If maybe I could do if they were playing hardball and they said no, I need a second or something like that. A second's too much. I'd say, all right, I'll give you a second, but you got to give me Bigsby in a third or Bigsby in a piece or something like that. I just think it's pretty important to lock up the backup to Saquon if Saquon's your main stud RB. So yeah, I think that's where I'd be at. You probably have to overpay a little bit because they know that guy that had Bigsby now knows he's got you by the balls a little bit, and you're the one that he's got all the play. He's got all the power in that trade talk. So
yeah. I think people are still people drafted Bigsby so high. They thought that he was going to be the guy in Jacksonville. Yeah. I don't think anybody's going to give him away that easily. And he's in such a good position. God forbid anything happened to Saquon. I don't think Bigsby's a good player, but this is one of those situations where talent will trump. Situation will trump the entire situation. If Bigsby gets a large role, if Barkley were to go down, that would be just an incredible piece to add. But I think you're going to have to overpay for now. I think Bigsby has to go a week or two with no involvement at all to get him at discount. And I think Brian said the Eagles only traded to 5th and to 6th for Bigsby.
Yep.
That's really weird that Jared didn't trade a first round pick for Bigsby, because that's what Jerry does. And that's a very Jerry Jones deal. I'm kind of surprised he didn't offer something up.
Yeah. Moving on, we got Jameson Williams got his contract extension. It feels weird that this is his 4th year because of the injuries. Here I am thinking, he's going to his 2nd, maybe 3rd year. No, his 4th year, his rookie contract is coming up. And he got himself a pretty penny extension. And granted, he's shown some great flashes. He broke 1,000 yards last year in just 15 games, had 7 touchdowns. 1,000 yards and 58 catches is pretty good. So is this a strong move by the Lions, you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think they need to lock him up. He was an electric college player, dealt with all the weird shit, injuries and suspensions and whatnot those first couple of years. But now that he's had time with the offense, they seem to want to work him in. He had a quiet week 1, but we're going to talk about some other Lions on my spotlight stuff. But they just had a rough week. So I think Jameson was arguably amongst the industry and all the pods and pages I follow. He was the most hyped up to have the huge breakout this year.
Yeah,
it seems like everybody would, not everybody, but there's a lot of people that were real big on JMO this year and taking him over ADP. So yeah, lock him up. It's kind of like the same with your quarterbacks and your top offensive linemen. If you have one that shows they can play and knows your system, you gotta give them the money, and getting out ahead of it is the way to go. It's what my Eagles do almost every time. They pay Devontae Smith, they paid AJ Brown, they pay their offensive line. They just get it done. They give them what they deserve. Keep everybody happy, keep everybody in camp and training and practicing. So it's the right move. If he ends up, flopping or having some off the field shit happen again, it's a risk you take.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not everybody gets to have a Howie Roseman. I wish, if there were 32 Howie Rosemans, the NFL might not be as fun. But but that the offense that JMO's in, it changed. Like there's no more Ben Johnson, and at the end of the day, it'll be great. Jameson's a great player. They did not look great week one, and what if that's the new normal for Detroit? What if it's the old Lions are back? They'll be fine. I'm not gonna panic, but I'm a little worried. Like they'll turn it around, but I'm cautiously optimistic on the JMO and the Lions offense.
They have too much talent to become the old Lions. And I think Campbell's too good of a coach to let.
They had Barry Sanders. They had Barry Sanders. They had Calvin Johnson. You're right. You're right.
Yeah. I think this group's too good. We're gonna find out, but I think that very well could have been just as much the Packers defense being that legit as the Lions being a little bit lost without Ben Johnson.
And it's so hard to really gain insight on a week one division rival game because the rivals just know each other so much. There's so much momentum. Like it's so hard to make an actual statement on something this week. We had so many divisional matchups this week one. It seems more than usual, but that could just be me. That I almost feel like we come out of week one not knowing too much fantasy wise, just because of that. The teams know each other so much you can't take insight on that. So yeah, it's I agree with it. I think they needed to. It's going to be very interesting with all their weapons of, Amon-Ra, Jameson. Now you got Laporta, who's doing well, and the running backs, which we'll talk about in a bit. There's so many weapons there. And then lastly, we talked a little bit about the Kittle injury, the Bowers injury. If you're worried about tight ends, I mean, a lot of the top tight ends, Mark Andrews, Ravens put up 40 points. Mark Andrews, 1 catch for 5 yards. Juwan Johnson for the Saints put up 10, 12 points. Kyle Pitts, the same. It seems the forbidden tight end. It seems what we were saying was push off the tight end, get one later. For those who waited, those who got Kyle Pitts, those who got, Juwan Johnson is probably available in many leagues. Those who waited benefited. Me, who has Andrews in a couple leagues, like he's going to do great. And I'm like, well, crap. I should have started Kincaid. And it felt weird saying that. But tight end position is just so wonky already with the injuries and with the low-end people going high. Are there any tight ends you're looking out for? You're going after that are low right now to stream to fill Kittle's spot or Bauer's spot just in case?
So, Juwan Johnson, I just had to pull it up to vet this. I checked on one of my leagues that I know is not tight end premium, just a regular PPR league. He was the fucking tight end 1 on the week in just normal PPR without a premium. He had 11 targets, 8 catches for 76 yards. Comes out to 19 fantasy points. And that was the tight end 1 on the week without even scoring a touchdown. So, yeah, he's a guy where – I sound like Chris fucking Collinsworth. Now, here's a guy. But he is on the teams that I have Kittle, and I definitely have Kittle in – now, granted, I'm only working with, 2 redraft teams here. One of them had Kittle, though. But on most of my dynasty leagues, I have – some level of capable, dynasty leagues, you're not grabbing Juwan Johnson or, fanning off the waiver wire. So I've got a capable Hunter Henry or somebody there to fill in for Kittle. But in my one redraft league where I just lost Kittle, that's my top waiver claim. I'm putting in, 10% of my budget, fab budget for the year on Johnson because he was heavily involved. The Saints sure look like they're going to suck and be playing catch up and throwing the ball a lot. Kellen Moore likes to throw. They probably have no choice but to throw because they'll be behind. And Spencer Rattler threw the ball 46 times, and Johnson had 11 targets and caught 8 of them. So he also played 99% of snaps, and didn't really block on any of them. Like he just runs a route on just about everything. So I like Johnson. He's flashed. He's had big games, big couple week stretches before. What do we got out there? We got Shaheed, Olave.
Olave's always injured.
Olave, one big, hospital ball headshot, he might retire. So yeah, I'm throwing some bids out there for Johnson. I mean, if he's on any waiver, dynasty waivers, by all means, put a massive bid for him since there's really not much on waivers in dynasty. But yeah, man, I like him. Pitts did show out a bit. He had a solid game. Drake London dealing with the injury. He seems like, from everything I'm hearing, 50-50 for this week. Probably leaning more towards probably sitting. So if he's out, if Mooney's either out or banged up, I mean, dude, it could be the Kyle Pitts show.
Yeah.
At least week 2.
Gross.
Yeah, it's not a fun show to watch. But it might be his show.
Yeah.
So two of the most unsexy names for a tight end pickup would be Hunter Henry and Bretton Strange. I think people would rather play a player on a bye. They just might keep George Kittle in their lineup than adding a player. But I think Strange is a very athletic player. He's just getting better every day, every week. And Hunter Henry has done really well with the Josh McDaniels offense. I believe he was in 2021, he was one of their top targets. I think he had maybe 6 or 7 touchdowns that year. And nobody cares if they part with Strange or Henry. You can get them so cheap right now.
Yep. Yeah. And
Zach Ertz, I said it all the whole time with the offseason. He's going to catch balls. He's going to fall right down. He got in the end zone. I'm not exactly sure where he finished in tight end, but he caught a touchdown, so he had to be a tight end 1 on the week.
Yeah.
Old guys rule.
Let's see.
And shout out to look out. I believe it's every Wednesday. We talk about a post on our Facebook page about streamers each week, players that aren't really highly started or have a high are on a lot of rosters. That we had one last week, and one of our first spotlight player, keeping with the tight end position, was on that. And for those who started this player, benefited greatly. We have Harold Fannin Jr. coming out, just drafted, backup tight end to Njoku, and then all of a sudden comes out here, 7 catches, 63 yards, which in PPR, that's 13.5 points. That's a tight end 1 on the week for what? In redraft, probably roster in under 5% of leagues, maybe 10.
I did the waiver article earlier. I think he's like 4%. Along those lines, like, yeah, he's in redraft. He wasn't picked.
Yeah.
No one thought that he would take the starting role from Njoku that quickly, if at all, if ever. And just, I don't know if Njoku was blocking or he was covered or Fannin's just, he might be that guy. Just, it's the old adage is it takes tight ends a couple years to get acclimated to the game. It took Fannin maybe pregame warmups to be a top tight end 1 on the week. That's crazy. The talent's there. I really don't like Njoku at all. Man, this feels like chasing points, though. This feels like Fannin next week has 1 catch, 9 yards. You're mad as hell for starting him, but it was a solid start. I was impressed. I wish I had more shares of him.
Yeah, it might have just been opportunity. Njoku played more snaps. He was at 84% snaps. Fannin was 72%, but Fannin had that targets. He was targeted so much more.
Had to double check the waiver article. Fannin, at least on ESPN, is at 1% rostered as of before the waiver runs. He will certainly be one of the higher added players going forward. But yeah, you said it. I mean, Njoku didn't get hurt. He was on the field more. He took more snaps, but he just got less targets and less catches. So who knows? It smells a little bit like Isaiah Likely week 1 last year. Not obviously as huge of a game as Likely had week 1, but he was replacing Mark Andrews, and he was the top waiver out of the week, and he didn't really do shit the rest of the year. So who knows? Fannin, electric college player. slipped a little bit just based on going to the small college, and I believe he didn't have he had a fairly disappointing like combine and/or pro day that soured some people, and the Browns seem to love him. There's not a he definitely has a pretty firm fan base. Like Heath Cummings from CBS loves that dude. I know a few different people that are real big flag planters for Fannin. So, I mean, the dude can play, and it seems like week one he managed to get himself out there, and targets are earned, and he got himself 9 and caught 7 of them. So, I think it's something to pay attention to. I don't think you should blow your budget on him, but seems to be worth an ad.
You're right. There's a good following of him, of people that absolutely love him. I was setting up these graphics earlier, and I was looking at it, I'm like, nope, that's from in college. That's college. That's college. And there's like no pictures of him in the NFL right now. And that's just how unknown he is. And yet coming out to do this, you never know with the Browns. You're right. He could pull likely, or Njoku's old, not as athletic anymore, and he just might push him right out the door.
Did the Browns do something right? Do we need to bookmark this?
Moving on, we talked briefly, but we're going to dive into our next spotlight, bringing up the Detroit Lions backfield.
Yeah, I saw how much they struggled. Again, I didn't get to watch the game, snap for snap, but I went back and looked at some of the bigger plays and just the overall picture. And I wanted to look at the numbers actually, and like how this backfield played out. And there was a lot of talk of Monty being not phased out more, but not getting a lot of the first down work or the first series. And it looks like this, man. The breakdown was Monty had 11 carries for 25 yards. Not great. Now the Lions just struggled, period. Like this none of these numbers I'm going to bring up are sexy or good, but Monty 11 carries at least, 25 yards. He did have 4 targets and caught all 4 of them for 18, which for Montgomery, that's pretty nice. I mean, that's a free 5 points in fantasy. Yeah. Saved his fantasy day. I mean, not that he won you anything, but he didn't just give you a 0. And then he was out there for 37% of snaps. Gibbs, on the other hand, was out there for 66% of snaps. He was 9 for 19 rushing the ball. 9 for 19 from one of the most electric, explosive players in the NFL. I mean, yeah. Gibbs looks like he's shot out of a fucking rocket every time he gets the ball. But 9 for 19. The silliest stat: he had 10 targets and caught all 10 of them for 31 yards. Heard this stat earlier today too. It's the least yards anyone's ever had on 10 or more catches. Never. Just never happened. Like it just a complete anomaly. So, I mean, great if you're in PPR, in half PPR, not so great if you're one of those people still playing in standard leagues. He got you, not even 5 or exactly 5 points on the day. So, not what you're looking for from your first round pick. But I just wanted to look at the exact numbers and see if, Monty's really getting, pushed to the side. And I mean, snap wise, he did, but I think what this shows is that if they weren't getting, beat down pretty good by that Packers defense and the Packers offense wasn't putting up points, it probably will be more of an even split with them. I think if they're in a close game or ahead, we're going to see more Monty. I was encouraged by Monty getting the 4 receptions for, a few yards. Gibbs might set some kind of fucking all-time record for running back receptions if they're in a lot of close games or behind. I guess, I'm not really bringing up anything that anybody didn't already know. We all see the stats, the numbers, but this was more about, I just wanted to bring up that I think Monty's still a rock-solid piece for fantasy, and also overall that I think we might be not seeing what we've seen from the Lions the last couple of years. Ben Johnson being gone, less talked about. Frank Ragnow, their all-world center, just retiring in his prime. They did not look like the Detroit Lions that we've seen, even with their first scripted drive or whatever. It just wasn't the same. And I do want to point out the Packers defense. They got what the fuck, Parsons. He looked good. He got himself a sack on limited attempts. He's still a little bit hobbled with the back injury. So the Packers defense definitely looked good. It was in Lambeau. So I think they're going to get better, but I think we should temper our expectations. It was a little scary. A little scary if you were spending up on Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah, for Montgomery last year and the year before, it was so much. The Lions would score so many touchdowns. He would get so much of the goal line work and get those touchdowns that he didn't score much because they weren't getting to the red zone. They weren't doing what they usually do. And watching the game, I'd say it was probably a combination of play calling, but also just the Packers defense just looked overwhelming. And I don't know what it was, if it was just it being at Lambeau and week one and the Lions just weren't ready for it with all the new coaching changes or what, but the Lions, they look so rough. We were watching that game. My wife, a Bears fan, wanted the Packers to lose, wanted the Lions to beat them down because she hates the Packers so much more, and she couldn't watch the game anymore after a little bit because of how good the Packers were doing. Like, the Lions, it's week one, rivalry game. I expect them to turn back around some, but it does make you question for sure.
You can't overreact, but man, it smells like a buy low. There's going to be the guy panicking. There's going to be this season is 7% over. Find that panic button. Find that person that's already reeling. They have the Kittle injury, and they might have Gibbs, and they might have to do something like the Lions will probably figure it out. You can't hold a guy like Gibbs down, even though he changes jersey number to 0. You can't hold him down for that long. He'll find a way, but Montgomery feels a little injury dependent. Might be wrong, but it feels like a majority of his success was when Gibbs was hobbled or out of the line.
Or when they were scoring so many touchdowns. Yeah.
Better days ahead for these two. Better days ahead. I just don't know if we're going to see the same lines that we're used to. Amon-Ra had a pretty quiet week for a first-round pick as well.
Yep.
And J-Mo. I mean, the whole team. Goff, none of them. Laporta, none of them. It was a big letdown. I mean, Gibbs' PPR day is like the only thing that saved anybody on the Lions this week.
Yeah, exactly. I'll take the next one. We got 2 more coming up. I'm spotlighting Justin Herbert. Now, I want to preface this, not taking any victory lap. You want to wait. We mentioned it's 77% the way through the season. You want to wait till at least 25% or so of the way to really start making big claims about how things are going. But the Chargers looked great. I was out here taking heat. You can see my rankings on the Fantasy Holics website. I have Justin Herbert as my dynasty quarterback 5. And I was taking so much heat for that. Why are you doing that? And I'll admit, my dynasty rankings are not right here, right now, today. That's the value of everything today is not where my rankings are. It's where I think halfway through the season, end of the season, that's what my rankings, where I expect the value to be. Because when you're looking at dynasty, you're looking at years out. That if I'm looking how things are going to look halfway through the season, end of the season, I'm ranking it like that, so I know who I want to sell, who I want to buy, and that's why I've had Herbert so high. And yeah, he hasn't done amazing since his first year, but we see the Chargers really investing in that offense. We see them getting Ladd McConkey. We see them get Trey Harris. Didn't do too much, but because they got Keenan Allen back. They got Omarion Hampton. They got so much focus on the offensive side of the ball that it was really make or break for Herbert. And what we saw is the entire time I was watching that game, I was like, going into the fourth quarter, I was like, the Chargers always find a way to blow this. They always find a way to blow this. Like, it's going to be a pick six. It's going to be a fumble. It's going to be something like they're done. And then we see Herbert lead to get a touchdown to get ahead. And then we see an 18-yard run by Justin Herbert to seal the game. And you can say, I have a lot of Chiefs fans as friends that are saying that touchdown that Herbert threw, there was a holding call by Najee Harris right there, and it was egregious. My thing with that is if you pause it, it looks like a clear hold. If you're watching it, you see Najee Harris trying to move his arm out of the way, and the guy almost is leaning into it. Almost, I'd equivalent to a pseudo like a basketball flop. Like it could have been called, but yeah.
I'd like to point out that the Chiefs also won a fucking Super Bowl on a non-existent call, so they can fucking suck it.
Exactly. So you can say that, but it's the same thing as saying Derrick Henry's fumble lost the Ravens game. No, it didn't. There were so many other factors that did, but we see a change. The Chargers actually finished a game. So many people were saying pick the Chiefs. Chiefs are only 3 points favorites. It's an away game, but it's overseas. Like pick the Chiefs. That's an easy money line. Like do that. Like the Chargers showed that there's a chance they're a team to be reckoned with this year. And Herbert leading the charge over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He rushed for 32 yards as well. He showed he could scramble again with that game sealing 18-yard rush to get that first down. Like I think there's a lot of potential to unpack here that I'm ecstatic to see how the Chargers are going to do, led by Justin Herbert, even with Omari and Hampton. I'm seeing so many people say he's a bust. He's a bust. It's week one. It's week one at an international field that isn't known to have the best footing. Like, if Hampton really picks it back up some, you're looking at maybe a top 5 offense. Like, I'm excited to see what's going to happen here with the Chargers.
Herbert looked phenomenal. Like, he looked so in control, so cool, calm, and collected, just laser beams right where they needed to be. He made Quentin Johnson learn how to catch again. I mean, it was put on a show, man. And right up until that, the game sealing run, man, he had that smooth slide and the little finger roll like celebration. He looked so fucking good, man. He's never not looked good. That's the thing. He's had some shittier teams around him at some points, and sky's the limit. We can't overreact. Again, 7% is all this counted for the fantasy season, but man, did they look good. And the Chiefs are not some bum defense. The Chiefs are a very good, capable defense. I think the Chiefs seem to more or less have like sold out for the run. It seemed like that was their game plan. I think that's mainly the reason that Hampton struggled.
Yeah.
Is that they just went in with the game plan of, okay, maybe they're thinking Harbaugh, Harbaugh and Roman, the two of them, they're gung-ho, they want to run the ball, but looks like the Chiefs picked the wrong thing to try to stop. So, yeah, sure. Hampton didn't have a great game, fantasy or stats-wise, but, he still got a lot of work. Shit, there's a great buy low, by the way. If a Hampton manager's panicking, man, buy up. But, yeah, man, I don't really need to say much more. We all saw the game. Herbert looked fucking fantastic.
I don't get the Herbert hate. I'm high on him too. He's a top 10 draft pick. He's an awesome offense with a really good coach. I really truly have every knock against Herbert is like, I disagree. I'll just keep trotting him out there and expect top 10 week, every top 10 finish every week, and just going to get better. Trey Harris is going to get better. Hampton's going to get better. They don't have Rashawn Slater, so they could theoretically be better once he's back. I think he's going to miss a whole season. But in dynasty terms, it's wheels way up for Herbert. I've been on board. I'll stay on board. If you want to get rid of him, if you want to sell high, I will gladly take Herbert off your hands.
Yep. Agreed. Our last spotlight, bringing up another running back, Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, I wanted to point out a couple things about Kamara here. He got in the end zone, which almost always saves your day for fantasy, and nobody's upset about it. You look at your final stat line, your final fantasy point line, and
damn it, touchdown.
he did, he did just fine there. But the couple things I wanted to point out were he only had 11 carries, not great. He was actually a lot of volume for carries last year, which looks like he didn't see in this game. Again, got in the end zone. That's cool. The average, a little over 4 a carry. That's certainly fine. The thing that's scary with him is, the catching has always been the biggest part of his game. He's a PPR phenomenon, always has been. He had 2 targets, caught them both, but only for 12 yards.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary if you spend up on Alvin Kamara. Like, that's his bread and butter. And, okay, you'd say, well, maybe the Chiefs were, the Saints were running the ball a lot or, in a bad game script for that. No. Spencer Rattler threw the ball 46 fucking times. 46 pass attempts. And 2 of them went to Alvin Kamara. And a deeper stat than that I wanted to bring up, and it's that Kellen Moore, in all of his last couple stops, when he got to the Cowboys, he dramatically reduced the amount of passing work that a prime Zeke Elliott was getting. Huge dip in targets and receptions that first year. Then he went to the Chargers. Huge dip in receptions and targets for Austin Eckler, another great pass-catching back. Then he gets the Phillies offense last year, and Saquon, now that's a little bit of an oddball one because of how well they were running, and Saquon just running through with that offensive line, but Saquon also saw by far the least amount of targets and receptions in his career. So, sure enough, week 1, Alvin Kamara, the PPR superstar, has 2 targets in a game that they were losing. So I'm not suggesting you cut him or anything like that. I don't know. Maybe you can sell him in Dynasty. You probably can't sell him, but I don't know. It's just something I really wanted to point out that I was hearing over the offseason. Heath on CBS was touting this all year, like, hey man, just don't be surprised if Kamara doesn't catch a lot of balls and isn't really worth where you're drafting him. And if he didn't score that touchdown, we're talking about 45 rushing yards, 2 catches, and 12 yards, and that's a big time different conversation. So hopefully we see more pass catching from him. But if in a losing game script with 46 pass attempts, he had 2 looks, I don't see why we should see anything different in the coming weeks. So it's just something I'm a little scared of.
Thanks, Jawan Johnson. Get out of the way.
Well, yeah. What are you going to throw to Kamara for when you've got a stud like Jawan Johnson out there?
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. Yeah, you're right. Kamara is usually a PPR monster, and for them to throw that many times and him only get 2 targets, again, that touchdown makes it seem like he's did better than he really did. And that's a great point to bring it up. I didn't even notice how few targets he had. That is a little concerning.
He was on the field for 79% of snaps. So, I mean, that's a positive, just to, not end on a completely sour note with Kamara. So, I mean, he was the guy out there. But, yeah, well, again, it's week 1. Let's not lose our minds over any of these stats. They could all be anomalies, but definitely something to keep an eye on in the coming week or 2.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to bring up the scoreboard and kind of just might not have time to go through every single game, but talk about a couple of highlights and different things. But one other piece of news that happened a little too late before me putting the graphic together coming up. Christian Watson for the Packers got an extension.
Interesting.
1 year, $13.5 million while he's on the PUP.
Is it the year that he's hurt, or are they paying him next year?
Yeah, he seems always injured. You have such a deep wide receiver room with Dobbs, who did great this last week. Golden didn't even do much. He only had 2 targets. Like, the Packers receiving room did great, but all of a sudden, why are you extending Watson then?
They just obviously they like him a lot. I don't know. Maybe he's just a great locker room guy. The little blurb I saw about it said that I don't know if it was Rappaport or one of the insider guys said that they wanted to do this so that he could completely focus on his recovery and rehab and not have to worry about earning a contract. But yeah, I mean, they obviously have high hopes for the dude. The very limited time we've seen him on the field, he is pretty electric. He'll have some monster touchdowns here and there. I know he had a game where he just lit up my Eagles for like 150 yards and 2 touchdowns the one week. So he can do it, but I mean, his hamstrings seem to be made out of like brittle rubber bands.
Who has worse hamstrings, Christian Watson or T. Higgins?
I think Watson. Higgins at least plays the majority of the team.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Any games you want to jump to? Any games that you liked, stuck out, or have some players involved that that we haven't touched on?
Maybe like just a one takeaway from each. It's starting just top left here, with my Eagles and the Cowgirls.
We can skip that.
You gotta not freak out too much about AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. Shit happens. Lots of stud receivers had terrible weeks. Jamar Chase, Nico Collins, it happens. Multiple more that I'm not even remembering off the top of my head, but no panic on the Eagles passing game. I think it'll be more balanced going forward. Week 1 is always a little bit odd, but good buy lows if anybody's panicking, in my opinion, and not just as an Eagles fan.
Yeah. My takeaway is the Cowboys seem better than people might think. If CeeDee Lamb didn't become Quentin Johnston and drop 2 or 3 balls at that last drive, Cowboys might have won it. So it's something where Cowboys going into Philly and being this close, I hate to say watch out for the Cowboys, but they might pull a couple upsets here coming up. Not necessarily be a great team, but no one's going to be safe with kind of how they looked in Philly this week.
Sell high on Javonte Williams. He was
that too.
2 1-yard scores away from a 15 carry 60-yard nothing burger. Like, yeah, that is someone is salivating. Like, Javonte's going to be the guy we've always thought he will be. Nah, it'll be Jadon Blue time in like 6 weeks.
He was one loogie in Dak Prescott's chest away from getting pancaked in the backfield by Jalen Carter 5 times as well. So
true.
There's that factor.
Yep.
All right, man. So we got Bengals Browns, man. My takeaway, obviously don't panic on Burrow and Chase. It's they suck. Joe Burrow's god awful in week 1. I don't know if anybody's seen it. Like he's trash. Like if you look at Joe Burrow just the week 1s of his career, he looks like he shouldn't be in the NFL.
Yeah.
They'll be okay. So other than that, we already discussed Fannin, but I do think he's something to keep an eye on, the Fannin Njoku thing.
Chase Brown looked amazing. He had just some like short bursts. Like I can't say that I'm a Chase Brown connoisseur. I haven't seen a ton of his game. He looked so good. I'm like, oh well, I think the Browns have a fairly good enough defense, and I was impressed. I ranked Brown a little bit higher rest of the season. Maybe they have Jacksonville next week. Are the Bengals bad for a couple weeks, or just week 1 they suck, or did I downgrade them a little bit for week 2?
Yeah. I have Burrow in a couple leagues. I have a Burrow Chase stack in a league or 2. If they could not do this again, I would be much appreciated. I had those guys in a league with Andrews and a couple other guys who just underperformed, and I'm like, I was really hoping to come out the gate hot because I'm having I'm facing a couple of the main contenders week 2, 3, 4. Like if I start 0-4, I could still make the playoffs, but I would hate that. So other than that, I think for the Browns, Dylan Sampson looked pretty good, I will say. Yeah. Granted, rushing, he didn't he was 12 for 29, but he had 8 receptions on 8 targets for 64 yards.
That's big.
He looked solid, better than anyone expected. how long is it going to take? Oh, wow.
Judkins,
yes,
Judkins.
thank you. Yeah. How long is it going to take Judkins to come back in? And oftentimes for running backs, you go with the hot hand. Is if Sampson comes back and does this 2-3 weeks in a row, what's that mean for Judkins? It's going to be interesting. But Sampson looked much better than I think anyone expected, which was phenomenal.
Cedric Tillman had a really good game. He was my sleeper per the Fantasy Holic site. He had a touchdown. He had another pretty significant catch, but it got ripped away, and I think it was a game-sealing fumble. Someone doesn't believe in Cedric Tillman. I say you should. Keep an eye on him.
He's shined when he's been on the field with the Browns. He had that 4-game stretch last year where he looked fantastic, and he came out week 1 and
on a heater.
I'd assume he ended up as like a top 24 wide receiver on the week with 4 or 5 catches, a decent amount of yards, and a touchdown. So, yeah, man, Tillman's a great ad if he's available on your waivers.
Yep.
So Steelers Jets, man, holy shootout! This game had one of the lowest implied point totals of the week, and it was like the second highest scoring game other than that Ravens freaking Bills game. It was crazy.
Yeah. Over under was 38.5 points.
Yeah, and both teams covered that by themselves. Man, so great for fantasy. With the Steelers, A-Rod goes out there, throws for two something and 4 touchdowns. Just looked great, looked spry. He was out there in control of the offense. Fantasy-wise, it kind of sucked because those touchdowns went to like Ben fucking Skoranek and somebody else that nobody gives a shit about.
Calvin Austin.
We could have used one of those to DK and something like that. But anyway, nice to see. Hopefully they can keep something like that up and get Metcalf more involved next week. And just all we want is good offense for fantasy. So this was a pleasant surprise. And man, Justin Fields, that may have been. It wasn't his best fantasy game because he's had some like astronomical fantasy games with his rushing and stuff, but just overall as an NFL quarterback, that might have been the best he's ever looked on an NFL field.
Yeah.
To me, it was impressive. Yeah,
my takeaway is just the rushing game from both teams. Is the Jets rushing game, it was 182 yards they had rushing, which is amazing. Breece Hall had over 100 yards rushing. Like, their rushing attack just looked unstoppable. As I was watching it, I was like, how are they not getting 200, 300 yards rushing? Like, they just kept pounding the ball, and they did really well with that. And then on the flip side for the Steelers, this is more a dynasty take than redraft. Do not give up on Caleb Johnson. Just because Aaron Rodgers had more rushing yards than Caleb Johnson doesn't mean you need to give up on him. Aaron Rodgers had -1. Caleb Johnson had -2. For those keeping track.
The 3 of us all had more rushing yards than Rodgers and Caleb combined.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's something where this was expected. Jaylen Warren just got a contract extension. You're at the Jets. Like, you have Aaron Rodgers, who we saw what happened to Breece Hall last year with Aaron Rodgers. Like, Hall just tanked because of Aaron Rodgers. Don't give up on Caleb Johnson. It's his first game as a rookie. Jaylen Warren is really going to lead that backfield for 4 to 6 weeks, even 8 weeks. Like, be patient on him. Don't try to sell him low now. Like, keep him on your roster. Wait. Redraft, I could see dropping him. That's completely okay for some of these other people. But Dynasty, do not give up on rookies this early just because something bad happens like that. Whereas we have a comment in loud cap saying give up on him. One game is not enough, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, Breece Hall looked amazing. Like, I had written him off all off season. A lot of us had, and it was like 109, and he already had 80 yards rushing. I'm like, oh crap, okay. And Hall looked amazing, but it was a lot of like between the 20s. It was empty calories, and when they got in the red zone, Braylon Allen's on the field. Justin Fields is doing a sneak, or he's throwing. It looked really good for Hall. I don't have a lot of Hall shares. Maybe we were all a little too harsh on him. He might not get a lot. If he has one more solid week, I'd sell Brees Hall like that. And what's Aaron Rodgers taking victory laps for? Come on, man. I mean, he's like, I am who you thought I was in the media. Like, no, come on, man. He was you won by 2. It wasn't a blowout. It was relax.
So we definitely touched on the Lions-Packers game already, but outside of the running backs and just the Lions struggling, I would say Jordan Love looks like he could end up being a lot fucking better than where he was getting drafted for redraft, for dynasty, for super flex, for single quarterback. He just looked fully in command of that offense. Smooth, fluid. They just controlled that game start to finish. We in fantasy we don't love how the ball gets spread around so much, and you get 3 catches for Dobbs, 3 catches for Reed, 2 catches for Golden, and that kind of stinks. But for Jordan Love, the asset, he could end up having a really nice year, man. He was the quarterback 5 just 2 seasons ago in fantasy. So that's my takeaway, is keep an eye on him, man. He could end up being a league winner where he was almost a free pick. I mean, I think there's probably multiple 12-team redraft leagues where Love's still sitting on the waiver wire because he just wasn't taken.
And that's awesome that they signed Christian Watson to a big thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. What?
Yeah.
Wrong notes, my bad.
Yeah, for me, the Packers looked exactly like we thought they would. It's not a single wide receiver had more than 5 targets. You had Romeo Dobbs on 2 catches get 68 yards. I mean, we expected their wide receiver room to be just whoever's open, just throw it there and it just be a crapshoot. Whereas Love, he did all right. I mean, you're looking at 188 yards for 2 touchdowns, but he took 0 sacks, no interceptions. Like he did what he needed to win that game, and it was against a tough Lions defense. I think people forget the Lions had over 15 people on IR from the defensive side last year. The defense is tougher than people might think. That I really think that Love is someone to keep an eye out on.
It was nice too to see that Jaden Reed was not only healthy but ended up catching a touchdown and looking pretty good, because there was all this talk of he's got this Jones fracture and like he might not even be able to play and this and that. But I mean, he looked pretty fucking fast and good to me out there. He hit a nice Lambeau leap, which after his touchdown, which you need some good ups to get up there. So yeah, Reed looked good. So that's another thing, good for fantasy and in Love's benefit.
The ceiling is just so high. If they threw as much as fantasy managers want them to, if like fantasy football was more important than the NFL, this could be an astronomically good offense. But come on, Matt LaFleur, just appease both of us. You can win games and give us a lot of fantasy goodness. Just throw maybe 7 to 10 times more.
Before we jump to the next game, I want to get this before it gets too long. We have a comment asking, Trey Benson, are you starting him this next week against the Panthers? Trey Benson this last week, 8 rushing attempts for 69 yards. He had more yards rushing than James Conner. He had a catch for 6 yards. Is he worth a flex against the Panthers?
He had one long run. Don't let it fool you.
I'd say it would have to be a pretty freak thing, like either a crazy deep 16-team league or a league where you have to have 4 or 5 flex spots or something along those lines, and or you lost Xavier Worthy and Drake London and whoever else that was normally in your starting lineup. It's not the craziest thing in the world. He's got a role, but like Mr. Oviedo just said, it was really just one big run.
If you're considering starting him, you should be considering trading him, no?
Yeah,
I'd trade him over start or flex him.
Yeah.
I would definitely consider flexing him myself, depending on who I have, just because Jacksonville just ran for 200 yards on the Panthers. That I think that Panthers run defense might be a little susceptible. That, depending if I have an injury in my starting running back spots and I need to, if I need to stream, there are leagues where I'm competing, but my last flex spot, I'm kind of streaming week to week. If that's what you're looking at, I would definitely consider Benson as one of those streaming options. Just seeing what, Travis Etienne, who everyone thought was washed, ran for over 150 yards on the Panthers. 140 yards. There's a chance I'd start him. I'd consider it at least.
It's not the craziest thing, but it's really just the circumstances. If whoever commented that, who are you starting him over? Who are you on the fence with? Throw me two other names that you might flex him over, and we'll hook you up with that answer.
Yeah.
But while in the meantime, we'll move on to the Chiefs charges. We already spent a lot of time on Justin Herbert and just how awesome they looked. I would say my takeaway is iffy for the KC backfield. Pacheco didn't look great. Hunt just looked like he usually looks. Not anybody I'm excited to start there. I think, you got to be a little bit sketchy if you draft a Pacheco as like one of your starting running backs at this point.
Yeah, the Chiefs running game looked atrocious. I mean, you had Mahomes, who had twice as much rushing yards as Pacheco. Like, that's what concerned me. Granted, it's an international field, not known to have the best field conditions. It still worries me that if they become one-dimensional, how can you become one-dimensional and just pass with those wide receivers? With Worthy out, with Rice suspended, you got Brown. Like, I worry about that offense a little, that they've been leaning on the defense recently, but if they can't get that run game going, that's going to be rough.
Yeah, I said it a week or two ago, the Chiefs might finish third in the division. They might be cooked. Keenan Allen is alive and well. Keenan Allen looked phenomenal. Like, it was, you could have said that game was from 2020. I wouldn't have batted an eye. He's back. He's legit. I don't think Quentin Johnson can use his catching hands for that long. And then last week I was like, it's every year it's the Ravens and the Bills. Like, oh, I want you to be the conference championship, the conference winner, and then the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl. The Chiefs are no longer in the consideration for the AFC title. They would have, if the Chiefs played the Bills or Ravens this week, they would have allowed 60 points. I think the Chiefs' window is closed.
I won't go that far yet, but it's not looking good.
The Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert thing reminds me of this. I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this in your own personal lives, but you ever have that chick that you had a good vibe with, you guys had a good little run, you partied, you always got along, and it didn't work out for some weird reason. Like, it wasn't like a really shitty breakup. And then 2 years later, you end up bumping into her at the bar, and it's just the magic's still there, and like you just got that vibe. You end up having a great night. That was Keenan Allen and Justin Herbert week one. Like, they were like, oh, that's my dude. They were like, that's my dude, and they just had an awesome fucking time. And Keenan Allen, man, we were talking about it in the offseason. I was drafting him in like round 22 of startups.
Yeah.
Guess what? Dude's just free money on my bench and all those dynasty teams now, man. So, yeah, Keenan Allen will eat. Unless he gets hurt, he's going to be a major part of this offense for the Chargers moving forward.
Yeah. Moving forward, Dolphins, Bills. I'm gonna go. Or, sorry, Dolphins, Colts. I'm gonna talk about the Dolphins. Of Tua just looked rough, and I worry. Waddle is still young. Hill might still have it. 8-Chain's still there. But if Tua keeps doing this, that is limiting every single player on the Dolphins fantasy-wise. That you got to wonder if you can actually start Waddle. Like, which you never 2 years ago would be blasphemy to say that. Like, it's getting rough there.
Dude, that passing game and Tua, the best representation would be a poop emoji. I wish I could just put the poop emoji up on the screen right now. Rough.
Yeah.
Oh, and not much better on defense because they just made Daniel Jones the quarterback 3 on the week for Dynasty. Quarterback 3, Daniel Jones, only behind fucking Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Ridiculous, man. Fucking ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, this game is 33-8. It felt like a lot worse than that. It felt maybe like 45-0. I don't think Daniel Jones broke a sweat. He didn't break a sweat from passing or standing in the pocket. He might have broken a sweat running. Everything was coming up positive. He had so much time to pass, so much time to run. He just ran if he wanted to. Like if the play broke down, he took off. The Colts defense looked amazing, and I couldn't believe how bad Miami looked because the Colts secondary is banged up. They aren't very good. I think they lost Juju Brents for the year. I was expecting this to be a very high-scoring game, but Xavier Howard said they knew if you rush to his first read, he like panics and breaks down, and that was a game plan. So they stifled that first and Tua was just deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
I don't think Tyreek is there much longer. I could see him going to does he go back to Kansas City? Does he go to the
Chiefs fans would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some Steelers rumors. This might be a completely lost year. I don't know how you come back from this if you're a Dolphins fan. It was Daniel Jones. Wow. I just optimistic as a Colts fan. Tyler Warren looked amazing. Tyler Warren looked like a 5-year pro. Michael Pittman's magically healed from his back injury. It was refreshing. The Colts hadn't won week 1 since 2013, and
Patrick, I can't believe in that entire time you didn't mention this. If what Daniel Jones did on Sunday doesn't show the world how fucking terrible Anthony Richardson is, I don't know what else will.
I've been debating with other Colts fans. Like Gardner Minshew took essentially this same team. They like 1 yard short of the playoffs. Minshew came up short. They had to win a game versus Texans. Same team. Richardson. Richardson's 8-7 as a starter. Okay, well, so be it. Then Daniel Jones does this. In 2 years of crappy Colts play, it's Richardson. If Gardner Minshew and Daniel Jones can take this team to the playoffs and trouncing the Dolphins, I wanted to be positive. I didn't want to be. I say Richardson stinks enough. I wanted to give Daniel Jones his moment of glory. Richardson, I don't think Richardson will start in the NFL anytime soon.
I don't think so.
Fair enough. So
we have an Eagles trade question, but I want to hit this next game first and then get our Eagles experts' opinion. But I feel like this is a question that's dominated the offseason where there's so much up and down. Corey Krosky-Merritt, 10 rushing attempts for 82 yards and a touchdown. He was listed as the running back 3 or 4 at one point on the depth chart a week or two ago. People were questioning what was going on, and then he comes out and does this. Is he a must start now? Like, unless your team is like stacked in the nines, like He's a must start now, isn't he?
It seems like it. I mean, as someone who was pretty confident in rolling out Austin Eckler on my main redraft team, week one. Yeah, he looked fucking awesome. He didn't have a huge amount of the snaps. It wasn't like he was out there as the workhorse. Eckler certainly had a lot of snaps and multiple touches, but good old Bill, man, he fucking got the big touchdown. He just made it happen. So he's clearly a big part of their plans. They shipped B-Rob away. Eckler's, on the older side, not that explosive anymore. So, yeah, this seems to be, again, it's week one. Let's not go completely all in over 1 week, but it seems to clearly be a big part of their offense and, big part of their running game. So, yeah, but maybe not must start, but he's probably starting for you on most normal size rosters.
33% of the snaps. That's
okay.
He did all that on 33%.
So it'll probably go up given how explosive he looked.
This coming week, no. I mean, he's a desperation, plug your nose RB2. They're playing the Packers Thursday night. Bill's damage came late. It was against the Giants. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. Start him if you have to. I'd hope you'd have a better option than Frosty Merritt.
Here's an interesting question. You starting him against the Packers on Thursday night or Trey Benson against the terrible Panthers rush defense?
Oh, my God. You can't flex Merritt either because you never flex Thursday. That's just...
that's where... which do you stick yourself with? I asked the tough questions.
I'd go Bill over Benson personally, but it's certainly a worth a discussion.
Bill, and I don't like it, and I would look at my phone. If I lose by a point or two, I'm like, damn it, I knew I shouldn't have.
Let's get to our Eagles question.
Yeah, fire away.
Are you trading Devontae Smith for Deebo Samuel if you have A.J. Brown?
Okay, so... And I'm assuming this is a redraft question for Dynasty. Absolutely not. I'd rather have the Slim Reaper. But in a redraft league, especially given that the team has A.J. Brown as well, I'm 100% okay doing that, given what we saw from week one. That would have been the other thing that I brought up for this game is Deebo looked fucking real good, man.
He did.
7 for 77 and a touchdown. And some work in the rushing game.
Yeah,
he looked good out there, man. He wasn't plotting or looking fat. He looked like Deebo Samuel out there. And Terry, as we all feared and suspected, wasn't that involved and didn't look, a big part of the offense yet or like ready to play or, maybe they schemed him out. But at the end of the day, Deebo was, the best player on offense for the Manders outside of J-Day. So, yeah, I'll absolutely do that in redraft.
Yeah, that's why I wanted us to talk about the Commanders first before talking about that. So, going to this, what is this? The lowest scoring game of the week, 9-14, Texans Rams. Is there anything relevant to talk about besides let's just move on?
I'd rather go back to Giants Commanders.
Let's not freak out about Nico. Puka looked great. Yeah, that's about it, man. I think we could just move right on. I don't think either of those teams are going to be that bad looking the rest of the way. At least, hopefully not.
Yeah. Dusting a little rust off. Not many played during the preseason. Little injuries concerns. Yeah, I'd agree with that. Just close your eyes, pretend it doesn't happen, move on, start next week fresh with all those players.
Yep. All right. So, Patriots, Raiders.
The Raiders.
Brock Bowers looked fucking awesome. I mean,
yeah.
He just came out booming. It ended up over 100, even getting hurt at the end there and missing, I guess, majority of the fourth quarter. Still had 100 yards. The dude can play. Geno threw a ton. I don't have it right in front of me, but he had a lot of pass attempts. Jacoby
24 for 34, 362 yards, touchdown and interception. Yeah.
So gotta like that for fantasy. Jacoby looked very good as well. Had a nice stat line. Genty, Not anything crazy stat line wise, but heavily involved. I'm sure he'll get better. And on the Patriots side, it was nice to see Travion, my wayward son, be so involved in the pass game. I think that'll probably continue. Had a little bit of a, not as many as Jahmyr Gibbs, but his more or less his receptions, saved him for fantasy. He got you like 12, 13 points depending on the scoring. So I think his workload will just continue to ramp up. So I'm still in on Travion for the year. Butte, one of my waiver ads of the week, man. 8 targets, 6 catches, over 100 yards. I don't think that'll change that much. I think he kind of ended on a heater with Drake May. Drake May obviously has a vibe with him. I think he's going to be a key cog in their passing game all year. Diggs looked a little bit slow and washed to me personally.
Yeah. For me, against my Patriots, I got to talk about them. There's 2 takeaways. I don't think people expected Stevenson to take 55, 60% of the snaps and Henderson to only take 35%. I think people thought Henderson was coming out as the running back one right off the bat. It's going to slowly change for sure. But Stevenson was the guy in that backfield to start week 1. Drake May, I wish I saw a little more out of him. 30 for 46. Sure, he had 287 yards, but that's on 46 pass attempts. Touchdown, interception. He did serviceable fantasy-wise for you, but you're looking for more than 287 yards on 46 pass attempts by May there for sure. So there's potential there, but still a little worried about May myself.
Yeah, not a big May guy myself, but better days are probably ahead. They've got to phase Diggs out at some time. Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper look good. Trayvon Henderson's really good. Pop Douglas had a touchdown. They'll get Kyle Williams filled in a little bit more each week, but against the Raiders, I mean, I thought the Patriots would comfortably win that one, but I don't know. I'm a little worried about Bowers too. To have Kittle ruled out like during the game and then not have an update on Bowers, who left with a knee injury. I hope he's fine. Something doesn't smell right with the Bowers knee injury there.
Yeah.
Keeping an eye on it. With the Panthers, Jags. I guess ETN, fucking awesome. 143 rushing yards.
He had a massive run, and they were like on the spot, like, yeah, we're trading Bigsby.
Yeah, we're out.
Get rid of him.
That Brian Thomas Jr. got a rushing touchdown, or he would have had 1 fucking point on the fantasy day. So
yeah,
put him up there with with Jamar Chase and AJ Brown and all the Nico Collins and all these like stud wide receivers that just shat the bed week 1. He at least bailed you out with a freak rushing touchdown. But yeah, man, I want to give our wide receiver 1 room huge credit on this. All offseason, you were saying Travis Hunter is going to be more like a PPR security blanket type guy. And he had, 9 for 33? Was that his stat line, or 8 for
6 catches on 8 targets for 33 yards?
Right. So, not what I expected whatsoever. I don't think you might have been the only person I've ever heard say that was probably going to be like his role, but sure as shit, that was his role. Put him up there with with Gibbs and Sampson, with just PPR saving their asses for the day. But nice to see, I guess. He's clearly got a role. They're going to be throwing to him, and maybe he's a detriment to BTJ. But he was involved.
Yeah, he had the most targets. Brian Thomas Jr. 1 for 7. That's either a lot of throwaways or something. I didn't get the game, but that's a little concerning for me. The 2 I want to talk briefly, Hunter, again, when looking at him through all of my metrics and such, he didn't have the efficiency. So I expected a lot of targets. He was too talented, a lot of targets, but not many yards. PPR monster, exactly what you had. Then flipping to the other side with McMillan, 5 receptions on 9 targets for 68 yards. He looked pretty good from the highlights I'm seeing. The problem is that Young looked terrible.
He did.
154 yards, 2 interceptions. He had a rough go at it. That if Young can pick it back up, I mean, McMillan had over a third of his passing or a third of his receiving yards. If Young picks it back up, look out for McMillan. Like he still had a serviceable day, even with Young being terrible. So these two rookie wide receivers are put a solid week in, which I'm excited to see them continue.
Yeah, you don't leave Young alone on that island. Trevor Lawrence looked like crap too for long stretches of this game. He only had I think it was 19 completions for 170 yards. Did you just say Brian Thomas had 1 catch for 7 yards?
Mm-hmm. 1 catch on 7 targets for 11 yards.
Yeah. Like it was bad it was not going to go on any quarterback fundamental videos, and McMillan juked the bejesus out of Hunter on one route, and Hunter had fallen down 3 or 4 yards away from McMillan. I'm like, okay, maybe Hunter's not going to be playing on defense as much as people had anticipated.
Yeah, I'm starting Tet full confidence in every league I have him in this coming week, and I'd say probably unless you have a much better like flex option, I have 0 issue starting Hunter again. You see that many targets and get that many catches, unless it's non-PPR and full go on.
PPR, it's a 50-50 for Hunter, but
Jaguars get the Bengals. Jags get the Cardinals. Oh man, better days are ahead.
Yep.
Broncos, Titans. RJ Harvey in my starting lineup in my league of record, not great. With J.K. Dobbins on the bench, by the way. So that worked out great for me.
Sorry.
Again, got the win, so that's all that matters. And now I'll start Dobbins this week over Harvey. But Harvey saved you. Not saved you, but he got a 50-yard run at the end of the game that ended up with 70 yards total. So he got you like 7 or 8 points. So, until further notice, Dobbins would be the start there. I think eventually Harvey will end up becoming the guy, whether it's Dobbins' injury or the Broncos just wanting to see what they have in the rookie. But the Broncos did not look great. Bo Nix had a terrible game. Bo Nix got you like single digits after you drafted him as like the 7th or 8th quarterback off the board in all formats. Better days ahead, probably. The Titans offense, I don't want to take too much of it. It was Cam Ward's first game as a pro against arguably the best defense in football. He had a couple decent plays. Pollard looked pretty good. Pollard had, he had a rough fumble, if I recall, but had some okay stats against a great defense. Rough day for Ridley, but he had Surtain on him. So I don't take a ton away from this game really at all, outside of just, start Dobbins over Harvey, at least until further notice.
Yeah, it was a rushing game for sure. The quarterbacks did horrible. I mean, you look at Cam Ward, 12 for 28, 112 yards, 6 sacks for 50 yards. With Nix, as you mentioned, got single-digit points for you. It was a rushing game through and through. The Broncos' defense is looking great. Cam Ward is realizing why the Titans had the number 1 draft pick last year. Like, there's better days ahead. That's what we've been saying. That's almost the motto of this episode. Better days ahead. But Cam Ward had a few welcome to the NFL moments here, I'm sure, and hopefully he'll keep picking it back up.
Yeah. It saved me from a really, really, really bad take that people would be calling me out on. I wanted to say Cam Ward finished as a top 10 quarterback this week. He's looked so calm and poised and confident through the entire offseason. I'm like, you know what? He's going to go into Denver, play well. He's got Calvin Ridley. He's got a good, decent offensive line, got a good ground game. Man, I'm glad I'm saying that now. I'm glad I'm saying that in hindsight, because that would have been a horrific whiff that I would have had to have explained myself on.
Yeah.
Better days ahead.
So Ravens Bills, we legitimately spent the first 10 minutes of our show tonight talking Ravens Bills. So I don't think there's really much else to say about that. You can just rewind to the beginning if you want to hear about Ravens Bills. So then we'll go Bucks Falcons.
Great game.
Ibuka, man, that fucking rocket ship that was strapped to his back just keeps on going with a 2-tutty week 1 performance, man.
Jeez. Rocket ship emoji.
In Dynasty, is there a hotter asset at this point, man? It's wild. Yeah, he didn't do it on a huge amount of volume. He had 2 touchdowns on 6 catches and not some like staggering amount of yards either. Mike Evans at least had a lot of targets. I'm not worried about Evans' role. Bucky Irvin looked pretty shitty. Bucky Irvin didn't have a great game by any stretch. Certainly not where you drafted him. Baker's day was saved by those touchdowns, but he definitely didn't look that great either. But
no,
week 1 rust. The Bijan receiving touchdown early in the game, that was ridiculous. He looked like he was running at a different speed than everybody else in the field. He caught the ball kind of in the dead center of the field. There was lots of people that seemed to have angles on him, and not any of them laid a hand on him. It just looked ridiculous. So he did nothing running the ball. He had one of the least efficient rushing games I've like ever seen.
Yeah.
With like 6 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. So monster game for him. Great for fantasy. Keeping an eye on the London injury. Michael Penix looked pretty good. Finished QB1. Ran the ball, ran for a touchdown. Pretty nice. He's on my waiver list for like single quarterback league pickups if you want to grab another quarterback.
Yeah, Penix was going to be one of my two mentions here. Like he looked great, just under 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. He kind of really picked right back up where he ended last year, and he's looking strong.
Well, remember, he got 50 yards passing on the Bijan, even though it was like a 3-yard lateral, essentially. But I have Penix in a few leagues, so
yeah. The other thing I want to mention, you mentioned Ibuka, hot asset in Dynasty right now. If you want him on your team, now is not the time to buy him. No. You're looking at sending 3. If you have him, I know people who wouldn't sell for 2 firsts. You'd need 3 firsts to get them to change their mind. Like now is not the time. If he's on this upward trend in 3-4 weeks, sure, it'll be 3 firsts and a second versus 3 firsts now. Like, don't buy him now. Wait to see if it tempers down. Just don't overreact week 1. Don't be looking to sell these people who did terrible and buy these guys who are hot. Like Xavier Worthy started similarly week 1 and 2 last year, and look what happened to him. Like, I'm not saying he's gonna fall off, but he is an incredibly hot asset right now. And if you want him, wait a few weeks and see what happens.
So I got to ask you this before I forget. While we have Egbuka on the brain here, I woke up to an offer from Lucas from our page in one of our leagues that we share. He's offered me Lamar Jackson in a super flex league, a team that I'm defending champ on, so it's a solid team looking to run it back. He's going to send me Lamar Jackson, but I've got to give him J.J. McCarthy, Emeka Egbuka, and my 26 first. Is that an overpay, or is that worth doing to get Lamar Jackson? I'm a little torn. I feel like I'm selling Ibuka, like I'm selling something that could just continue to go up. I mean, if Ibuka has another 2 or 3 consecutive games of hotness, my God, we're talking about the next fucking Jamar Chase at this point with how high his hype is already. But I think it's a reasonable payday to get Lamar. It obviously thins me out a bit and takes away my first round draft capital for next year. Obviously, assuming it would be a late first if I'm adding Lamar to a championship team. But what are you guys' thoughts on that?
For me, there's two things I would immediately think of is who are your other quarterbacks? Like if I have Josh Allen and Michael Penix, who did great, or like, two great competing assets, like I'm not getting much starting points. I don't think I would do that. Whereas if my quarterback two, I'm a little iffy on, if it's, even an older guy, Geno Smith, Matt Stafford, that I'm streaming, like that's very hard to pass up on. One thing to note is the Falcons last year, I think they gave up the 11th most passing yards. So the Falcons pass defense isn't that great. And Mayfield still only got 165 yards. That it might be a sell high moment here. But for me, it really depends on the quarterback situation.
Here's the nuts and bolts of my team. I've got at quarterback, I've got Jared Goff, J.J. McCarthy, and Darnold. So I've got 3 serviceable quarterbacks. Pretty stacked up otherwise. I've got Gibbs and Taylor at running back. I've got Amon-Ra, Scary Terry. In my flexes right now, I've got Chase Brown, Igbuka, James Conner. And it's a decent team. I've got some players on the bench. I've got Ken Walker and Charbonnet on the bench. I've got Thielen. I've got Calvin Ridley, Jacoby Myers, Pittman, QJ. I just lost Kittle, but I have Ingram and Fannin and Conklin, so I'm not decimated at tight end either. It's the team that won the championship last year. It's pretty good. I do have Milroe on my taxi too, so I've got Darnold and Milroe, so that
good lord, that team
settled. So, given all that, I could give up my 26th first, Igbuka, and J.J. McCarthy, and acquire fantasy rock star Lamar Jackson.
I'd do it.
Like I'm talking myself into it at this point. What do you got?
I'd do it. I mean, McCarthy could suck. The first, like you said, it could be late first, and Igbuka is very, very good. And he'll get a little down tick when Godwin comes back, but not that much. And I know it's dynasty, so just go for it now. Just what are you waiting for? Do it. Like when you don't make money. You could win, 2 or 3 years, 2, 3, 4 years. That was a really good team that you mentioned. Yeah. The missing piece was Jackson. I feel like that's like you're just that piece away. I'm gonna hit
the accept on air.
Live.
There we go. Live.
Good luck.
Accept this trade. Lucas.
I would have been a touch greedy. I would have not countered, but sent a second offer of I take away that first, but I send a 26 and 27 second instead. But I would have left that offer there that if he did nothing, I still would have accepted it. So, I would have been a little greedy, but you take that.
I've had enough trade negotiations with Lucas that that wouldn't happen. He sends a reasonable offer, and if you try to counter with some, any bit of lowballing, I'll just be like, nah, dude, that's the offer. So, there it is. On-air trade. Beautiful.
There you go.
Lamar Jackson on yet another roster of mine, and one less Igbuka, which is, potentially could suck, but I think he's at a peak value right now, potentially peak value. So, let's go, boys.
To get Lamar on that team to win now.
The repeat, hopefully at worst, that first that I sent is like 109, 110,
Yep.
Hopefully. So we shall see. We
got 3 games
break
left
up at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Cardinals, Saints. You guys have any strong takeaway from this game?
Juwan Johnson, great waiver pickup. I mean, we talked about Kamara some, looking at the Cardinals. It's tough to think Benson isn't going to slowly take over for James Conner just because of his injury potential, but that could be more a next year thing than this year thing. But people were very worried about Trey Benson in the offseason. I think he's starting to solidify, saying that he is going to be the next running back for the Cardinals, whether that's later this year or next year.
Clearly,
there's a meme of a old guy in a dress shirt getting the same dress shirt at Christmas or something, like the exact same crappy offense is from last year is the exact same crappy offense from this year. The Cardinal, there was just that was the worst game, period. Kyler was finding Marvin at a better rate. They were still peppering Trey McBride with a ton of targets. Trey McBride is like the most. I mean, you don't buy tight end, but he's such a difference maker. He might be the best tight end in football. He might be better than just the sheer target volume. He might be more valuable than Bowers right now. They were like Murray. The second the ball hit Kyler Murray's hand, he's like, "Where's Trey McBride?" And
McBride is also. It's almost impossible for him not to have positive touchdown regression this year, with the amount of targets that he has. I mean, dude, he's got to end up with 7, 8, 9, easy.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Or not. I mean, he had 0 week 1, so who knows? Maybe he has fucking 2 at the end of the year again.
Yeah.
Chris Olave didn't get hurt. That was a bonus. Chris Olave looked good.
Yeah, he did. I want to say he had 5 or 6 catches, like 60, 70 yards, somewhere in that neighborhood. Not a terrible day, double digits PPR. He's healthy. He's should be rock solid every week. He's
wonderful buy low. Everybody thinks he's hurt. Everybody thinks the Saints suck. Don't give up too much, but
yeah, if they're going to be in a trailing and throwing a lot, as long as he's healthy, I think he's a 100% valid flex or like wide receiver, 2-3 in a pinch any given week. So yeah, man, I like Olave going forward.
Yeah. Next, 49ers, Seahawks. For me, there are 2 big takeaways. Is Charbonnet out-snapped Walker. Charbonnet was close to 60%. Walker was 40%. Charbonnet had 12 rushing attempts to Walker's 10. Charbonnet got the touchdown. We talked about this some. There was concern for Walker because the coaching staff changed. They're going to go with the hot hand. They're going to go with the talent. Walker has that injury history. If you can get Sharp going, there's potential. He keeps the backfield here.
Here's the best way I would pose this to you guys. If you have a roster where you have Charbonnet and Ken Walker on it, who are you starting this week? After what we just saw.
After what we saw, you got to start Charbonnet.
Right. And
Charbonnet.
That dynasty team that we just went over that I just made that Lamar trade on, I have both of them. I'm fortunate enough that I've got enough good players that I don't have to start either one of them. But I think if I was in a position where they were like my RB1 or 2, I would have to start Sharps. I mean, that's what they chose to do week 1, with both of them fully healthy, with both of them being on the team for multiple years. It's not like one of them was new to the team, and that's why they were easing Walker in. Walker's been there longer than Charbonnet, for fuck's sake. So yeah, I think you got to roll out Sharps. We brought him up in one of our off-season episodes as a guy we all like, and he just looked better. He did more with his touches. Not to say I don't think Walker's washed or bad by any means. Ken Walker's explosive as hell, but he just didn't do next to anything with the touches that he got. So if you're the Seahawks staff and you look at that game tape, how the fuck are you not using Sharps more than Walker, at least in week 2?
Yeah.
I've been a big Kenneth Walker guy. I've defended him as long as I can, but he's played 15, 11 games in his 3-year career. His rushing yards, 1,050, 905, 573. He's just the best ability is availability. And Charbonnet's on the field. The time has to come. Like, you need to win football games, and you've got to put Charbonnet on the field. He's done better with his opportunity, and Walker just hasn't stayed healthy enough to get the job done. And I want to believe in Walker, but it's just not looking like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
The injuries have sapped the talent. He's not the guy that we saw in 2022.
Yep.
Other than that, JSN looked fantastic, crazy involved, just hyper targeted, did great with them. It wasn't even just a volume thing. Like he looked the part out there. I think he ended up dropping. He was mostly like a 3rd round pick. So man, if you started like Derrick Henry, Achane, and JSN was your 3rd pick, that's looking like a pretty solid starter. Something along those lines. We talked about San Fran a ton with all the injuries, and who knows what's going on. Purdy might be hurt, but we really didn't talk about Christian McCaffrey. Good Lord, 30+ touches. He had, I think, 10 more fantasy points than most other runner. I don't know if it was 10, but he outscored most other running backs without even getting a touchdown. So
yeah,
we know the story, man. If he's on the field, he's as game-changing of an asset as there is in fantasy football. How long he's going to hold up getting 33 touches a week, that remains to be seen. But so far so good for the explosive Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, you brought my 2 points on that. JSN, Sam Darnold, people were seeing ghosts. He threw for 150 yards. JSN had 124 of the 150 passing yards of Sam Darnold. Like, absolutely insane. And then McCaffrey rushing, he wasn't amazing. I mean, 22 rushes for 69 yards, but he had 9 catches for 73 yards. He still looks like he had it. Like, it's crazy to think, he had an injury concern coming into the game. People were wondering if they started him. As long as he is there, he is still a premier asset right now.
And if Brock Purdy misses any time, I think Mac Jones is already salivating for the next contract he's going to get, because Sam Darnold just was in that system for a couple of weeks, got a nice big deal. Purdy got a big deal. If Mac Jones gets a few weeks starting, some team's going to pony up and give him ridiculous money for some unknown reason. Mac Jones is so excited. He's like, Brock Purdy's hurt. That's a shame.
Yeah. All right, well, 1 to go, and it was the final game of the Week 1 slate, and it turned out to be pretty exciting in the end. It certainly wasn't the Ravens-Bills, but it definitely went down to the wire. And Vikings, Bears, what do you guys got?
My wife was jumping up all over the place, flopping on the ground, screaming about the entire game, yelling at the Bears. It was a typical Bears game. It was better, but a typical, where their first drive looked phenomenal. It looked like it would be a top 3 offense if you just look at that first drive. And even the first half, the Bears offense seemed kind of in control, and they were in control of the game. But once the second half happened, the Bears offense stopped really doing much. The Bears defense started getting tired. J.J. McCarthy got into a rhythm. That's when the tides turned, and the Bears just flopped. Their defense couldn't keep up anymore. And J.J. McCarthy, and they let J.J. McCarthy have a historical fourth quarter, leading a 3 touchdown comeback. It was the Bears being the Bears, but there's still hope because the Bears started off so strong. Caleb Williams looks so confident. And I think he has an O-line he can trust, and his play calling he can trust. He finished he didn't keep it up after that first drive, but just the confidence Caleb Williams has makes me trust the Bears more moving forward. They just need to keep that confidence when they're not on the game stripped of the first drive of the game. But it was a great game all around.
So McCarthy looked fucking awful. Like, he looked so lost. We were all in the Pollux group chat, just blasting McCarthy like this is, and he did. He looked completely lost. He looked awful. The Bears looked like they were cooking. It just looked so messy. And I promised that I would quote this, so I even took a screenshot of it. Our very own Scotty B, Lord Gambler, said, quote, this is when, McCarthy was completely looking lost. This is before the turnaround. This is at his lowest point, maybe around the early third quarter. He said, Sam Darnold took his ghost to Seattle, and now J.J. McCarthy is busy building a whole new haunted house in Minnesota because, my God, he looked fucking lost. And I don't, the final stat line, I think depending on the scoring, McCarthy and Caleb both ended up having like 25-ish points at the end of the day. And, the stat lines were similar, and McCarthy's stat line turned around. I don't think he even had some great statistical day, but I think the big takeaway is McCarthy did not let that horrific start phase him. He stayed in it mentally. He stayed, locked in and following the plan and listening to his coaches and finding his weapons and getting Jefferson a touchdown and getting Aaron Jones a touchdown. And I think that was what I was most impressed with. It's the most I've ever watched J.J. McCarthy play football in my life because he didn't play last year, and I don't really watch college, but I don't think he did anything amazing as a quarterback in that second half, but I think he showed that he has the mentality and the ability to play in the league, and that's what I was happiest to see for all the Vikings assets. And then my other little tidbit is Jordan Mason. I needed him to stay under 10 points last night, and it was fucking terrifying because every time he got the ball, he looked fantastic. He's good, man. He's better than Aaron Jones at running the football. He's going to be a problem. He's going to end up having a big, 175-yard, 2-touchdown day on the ground sometime soon. So, Jordan Mason, keep him on the radar. He looked fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah, I was watching that game, and for 3 quarters, I was writing the thesis statement on, man, I've got to face some music on J.J. McCarthy, man. He looks like crap. He looks lost, and he looks unprepared. And I'm like, well, maybe. They were running the ball so well. Aaron Jones was doing well. He stole my Jordan Mason thunder. Jordan Mason looked phenomenal. I'm like, okay, McCarthy doesn't have to throw for 400 yards his first game. They're just easing him in, easy. And then that touchdown to Jefferson, that was a dart. That was a really good throw, maybe some confidence. And McCarthy redeemed himself enough that I'm not having to say, he does kind of suck. The cream will rise to the top. It was a good start. On the road in a hostile environment, even though McCarthy did grow up a Bears fan and his first game was at Soldier Field against the Vikings. That was an interesting tidbit. And I've never in my life seen a quarterback throw a ball into a defender's arm as much as J.J. McCarthy did. You know that dunk tank game at a carnival? If J.J. McCarthy's there, you're getting dunked. It was at least 5 or 6 throws just straight into a defender's outstretched arm. I'm like, come on, man, just get around the arm or tuck it and run. It was looking bad for a bit. McCarthy will live to see another day. He has another primetime game Monday versus the Falcons. DeAndre Swift looked really good too. I don't think the Bears dressed another running back. Swift looked phenomenal. I hadn't been a Swift guy until this offseason. Dug deeper. He's a lot better than I gave him credit for. What do I know, right? A little alarmed by the lack of Loveland, Burden usage. DJ Moore almost died multiple times. I was thinking about you, Brian. I'm like, oh man, the DJ Moore is getting banged up. DJ Moore is in harm's way. But it was an exciting game. Not quite Bills Ravens. They can't always be that good, but I can live to see another day with my JJ McCarthy take. I hope it gets better. Adam Thielen's not washed. It was a great fourth quarter. It's a great.
It was.
Yeah. Finishing 3 quarters, I was prepared to come on and say JJ McCarthy looked great handing the ball off. And then I think you hit it, Brian. His mentality to stick in there of getting sacked, running around, all these batted balls, the pick 6, he kept in it. And that is huge. His stat line wasn't impressive. He had the rushing, he had the touchdown still. His fantasy line was great, but his stat line wasn't, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I look forward to seeing what else happens to him. To touch a little on what you just said, Patrick, Luther Burden had 27% snap share. I think we're really seeing that his injury has held him back, that he isn't being integrated as much into the offense. He had 1 target for -3 yards. And
I had more yards than Luther Burden.
Yep.
Yes, you do. I mean, their starting slot receiver, Zacchaeus, had 7 targets. So he seems to be a pretty good safety blanket for Caleb Williams. That's kind of what I was thinking. And even I think one of my hot takes that Zacchaeus is going to have more snaps than Burden, or spend more time in the slot, just because of how long it took Burden to come in. That Loveland, I wish would have been involved a little more, but it's something where I think they got out of a rhythm. Swift is the opposite of JJ McCarthy. His stat line, well, kind of. His stat line, like, he looked amazing, but his fantasy stat line just wasn't, left a little to be desired. He looked so much better than what he gave you fantasy wise. For me, it's both look really well. That come 4 or 5 games from now, I'm looking to see how polished they are.
Yeah, man. Well, that's a lot to take in. We just broke down all the games. Lots of news, man. We're back at it, boys. We're real NFL football. So of course we went for over 2 hours because we had real NFL football to talk about.
Yeah. Love it. Can't wait. Still can't believe it's back.
Yeah, and hey, don't forget, get your waivers in before you go to bed because tomorrow is waiver wire day. Luckily, not all my dynasty leagues run automatically on Wednesday morning like most redraft leagues. But I've got a lot to do before I go to bed, and a lot to think about. We got the Castle Black waiver wire article is posted on the page. You can check out my favorite ads. We'll be back, Tuesday all season, giving you a breakdown, and I love it, man.
Yeah,
2 hours we could have easily went for another.
Oh, easily. Happy to continue talking, and sure, we'll have a great time next week.
Awesome, man. Well, for my boys, Mr. Oviedo, wide receiver 1, Castle Black, and the Fantasy Holics fam, man. Happy week 1. We're on to week 2.
Enjoy.